Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Page by Page. Today, we're going to go through Inheritance of Embers, the Aeldari sourcebook for Wrath and Glory. I'm super excited. I've had this for a little bit. I'm playing an Eldar character in a game that I get to participate in, so I'm super excited. I've used this a lot, so I'm going to share it with you. If you were considering, should I purchase this, and you wanted a quick peek at it, this is perfect for you. Go ahead, click that like and subscribe button so you can see more of these sneak peeks. Let's go ahead, jump straight in. Okay, so here's our contents. The book's about, the PDF's 160 pages, but you know, that's including the cover and all that. So chapter 1's about the Gilead system and the Eldari's connection to it. Then we jump straight into the characters, new factions, new archetypes, tons of fun stuff there. They even have talents. Some of the talents are reprinted, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Psychic powers, armory. Then we break each of the next chapters are about each of the sub-factions of the Aeldari, Craft World, Pirates. Why has their name just suddenly left me? The Anratha, excuse me. The Reavers. And then we've got the Drakari. And then we have, not my favorites, but we have the Harlequins. Then we have the Pantheon of Ruin. And then we have the Game Master's Guide. So let's go ahead. First part really just breaks down their connection to the Gilead system. If you're playing in the Gilead system, it actually is full of some stuff. I actually like the Gilead system for the Aeldari. But the Aeldari, because they can use the webway, and this takes place during the Dark Imperium, like they're not stuck here. So I feel like we need more. They're starting to add more stuff. So here we are. The meat and potatoes. Why you probably bought this book or considering buying this book is for the characters here. In the core book, they only have the Aeldari. Well, now they have the Drakari, and you can play a Wraith construct. That's pretty cool. There we go. Now we just need dreadnoughts. We don't have them, but we need it. So here's our Asuryani factions, your various backgrounds that you can get, roll a d6 or pick, your keywords, and the craft world that you're from gives you a little bonus here too. That's awesome. Wraith constructs, always fun. Corsairs, that was the word. Goodness gracious, could not remember that. Here's your Corsairs. And the Drakari. I'm a big fan of the Drakari. They're terrible, but if you play them right, they can be a good wretched hive of scum and villainy. And I'll be honest, here we got the we have the witches, the covens, and all that for the Drakari. We have the Harlequins. I'm not a huge fan of trickster types, so they tend to require the narrative really to be on their side to be anything worth telling a story about. That's my opinion, and I realize I'll probably get some hate for that. But, you know, they're here, and they should include it because just because I don't like it doesn't mean other people don't. And they also have the new faction, the Ynnari, if you kind of want to, you know, do that, kind of play everyone together. That's really nice. All right, let's take a look at these archetypes. The Guardian. Got some Rangers here. I believe these are all, this is the Aeldari. So we got a Dark Reaper. Dire Avenger, Fire Dragon. I love Melta guns. I'm not sure if I like in my head, I like the idea of a Melta Aeldari character, but if I ever played in a game, I might do that. Yeah. The Howling Banshees, the Striking Scorpions, Swooping Hawks. Actually, this is probably what I'd do, the Warp Spider. Let's take a look at their ability. Flicker Jump. You appear just long enough to weave a deadly web before disappearing from sight. When an enemy enters engagement with you, whilst you are unengaged, you may move up to your speed as a reflexive action. You can use this ability up to your rank times per combat. That lets you jump around. Kind of control, so when people get close to you, you can decide to get away from them. I guess that's cool. That's cool. I would have liked the dodge buff, but, you know, whatever. Neat. Warlocks, the Wraith Guard, Farseers, there we go. Now moving on to the Drakari, we've got the Cabalite Warrior. He's actually pretty decent. And because I play a Drakari in my game, I've actually really looked these guys over. Cabalite Warrior is pretty good for tier 2. Don't get me started on the Witch. I'm not a big fan of it. I play a Witch. Their lightning dodge ability, we're a tier 3 game, and I took this as mine because it made more sense, but The big thing about it does is you get, if you're wearing a witch suit, which is a really, really weak armor, you get your rank and bonus to defense, but just for melee attacks. And to be honest, in this game, it's so easy to get a couple sixes and really just get your icon/successes up real high that it really doesn't make a difference until you have just tons of XP. I'm now survived long enough to get there, so we'll see. Hellions are fun. Beastmaster, the Incubus. I think the Incubus probably mechanically pretty darn good here. Mandrake, it's fun. Scourge, the Archon, the Homunculus, and the Succubus. Tier 5. Tier 5. A lot of the expansion books include Tier 5, or the core book only went up to 4. Harlequin characters, and I think some of these guys look good. I should have played a troop player. Like mechanically, if I just don't like Harlequins as much, but mechanically I think it would have been a little better for me. Death Jester, I love that gun. I love that gun. I don't even know what the gun is. I don't play the war game as often as I should, but pretty cool looking. All right, Corsairs. Corsair is a good way to play because you can kind of, as you can see, the species are Aeldari, Drakari. You can kind of play a little bit of everybody. You can play that craft worlder who's just a little bit off, the path. You can also play the Drakari that's not quite a terrible person, quote unquote. And then you could, all meet up in the middle with a Corsair game. And who likes playing pirates? Everyone likes playing pirates. So there we go. We've got Felark, all that good stuff. Our Ascension packages, one of them is the change of kinship. That's kind of cool. So essentially you can start as a Drakari and become an Asuryani, or so you can essentially make a culture shift. That's pretty cool. Talents. These are pretty good. Blade Artist, pretty cool. When you use a weapon with the Aeldari or Drakari melee weapon, it gains the Rending trait. Rending lets you ignore armor. It already has the Rending trait. You get to add your rank to it, so pretty gosh darn cool. There's some good ones in here. Blade Storm, Matchless Agility, pretty cool as a reflexive action. When you're targeted by a ranged attack from an attacker you're aware of, you can spend a glory and add your rank to the test, to your defense until the test is resolved. That's pretty cool. And now they've got some good, and I've read through this, really nice way to kind of get into the Eldar mindset without having to just bury yourself in 40k lore. Here's our psychic powers. I tend to not play psychers, so I'm really, my games just tend to not have them too. So I'm not really into the psychic stuff. So it's there. That's a fair amount though, all things considered. The armory, the good stuff. They've got laser weapons, dark light weapons, shuriken weapons, projectile weapons. Here's the thing though. You have to understand this. Cubicle 7, I love them. I love this product. They have a lot of typos to get through, so make sure you have the most updated version. Check out the errata, everything you need just to make sure you're using the kind of most up-to-date version, because occasionally some really bad mistakes get in. Sorry, Cubicle 7. I just got to be honest. But check this out. Little side thing here. The Drakari have they got a lot of knives, so you can upgrade a knife with a trait. That's just what you get to do. That's pretty cool. You get to have your little knife. Nothing fancy about it. You can take a knife and give it the force. Oh, no, wait. No, you don't want to do that. Never mind, because that's right. You're not a psyker as a Drakari. But if you got Drakaris, that wouldn't work. Never mind. Listen to me talking here. More upgrades. These can be really fun. Some of these are really nice. I have, because I play a witch, I have an arena trophy. And that essentially, I pick a keyword, and anyone that shares that keyword has to make a fear test against me. That's kind of nice. There we go. Drugs and toxins. For me, it's really tough in the game that I play because we don't have as access to Eldar stuff. But if you want to make your Drakari just roided up, ready to murder, keep an eye on these things here. So next after that, we have Worlds of Bone. That's where we really get into the craft world. Eldar. A little bit about how they live, their relation to the Gilead system specifically. Here we've got some NPCs that, maybe you guys could work for, your characters. All right, Outcasts of the Void, that's our Corsairs. Same thing. Just how to play them, know a little bit about them, and how they work in the Gilead system. You got your NPCs. There we go. The Drakari, same setup there. Moving on, they even have some. I think these are some of the Kabalite factions. There you are. Then we've got the, last but not least, the Harlequins. Like I said, not a huge fan of them specifically, but it's there. So if you are, they've got several pages dedicated to your guys here. The Pantheon of Ruin, I think this is, it talks about their gods and so on and so forth. And yeah, Game Master Guide, how to essentially run a game. They also have running a mixed parties, because let's be honest, that's more often, if you have this, you're that one guy that wants to play that Drakari or Aeldari, Corsair in that game, and we just got to come up with a reason why we can fit you in there. They did some of that thinking for you. Some frameworks here to help you kind of get your game started. And that's it. So with that, that is Inheritance of Embers. I'm a big fan of it. It's worth it, especially for the price tag. If you're going to play an Aeldar game or have Aeldar players in your game. If you enjoyed this, give it a like and subscribe. And for the Emperor, guys, see you next time.